Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, man. Hunt the ball. Let's go, family on 3. 1, 2, 3, family.
Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films NFL Draft Barbecue Big Board Questions. Alec Pulianas. Hope I didn't butcher the name too bad, Alec, there, but
all good.
Did good. Okay, nice, man, nice. I've known you long enough. You've been on the show 100,000 times. Figure I get the name right, so no surprise there. Welcome in here to talk about the tight ends. But of course, Alec, get down to business. Tell people what you've been working on. You got a lot going on in life, I know. How about the football side of it?
Well, we just did a show with you. It should be out in a day or two. So we chopped up the defensive players in this draft, a big, huge defensive draft, lots of really good players in this draft. And yeah, so we got that coming out on Ravens Recap. Some other news with Ravens Recap coming soon, but I'll just leave it at that.
Secret safe with me, son, but it's good news. Like it. Exciting time for the Ravens Recap, fellas, and I think you all will like it. But Alec, more important question, second question I always ask, paint me the Pulianas barbecue. Now, I know that you're a man who enjoys his food and gets into food. So tell me about Alec at a cookout, man. What's the vibe like? Are you the dancer?
Oh, always. I bring the speakers, man. So yeah, I'll bring the speakers to your barbecue. I had to get dressed up for the barbecue, put on my Hawaiian shirt here, but of course the Ravens purple. I'm ready to bring the party,
The luau, doing the luau.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love a barbecue. That's house goals right there, is have a yard, the grill, maybe a spit, get a lamb going, really embrace the Greek roots, it's just big barbecue energy over here.
So shall I dare to say you are the George Karlaftis, aka the Greek freak of the barbecue?
That's right. Absolutely.
Nice. So tight ends, sneaky need, maybe not so sneaky need for the Ravens. Of course, we have All-Pro. You can now call him an All-Pro, Mark Andrews. Nick Boyle coming back, obviously a backbone of the team, but he didn't look quite right last year. Hopefully he's getting back into shape. So I'm working out with former Steeler James Harrison, which is kind of cool to see. Professional guys that would battle each other during the game if they were playing at the same time. So what do you think about the need factor for tight end in this draft, Alec?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to look into it and kind of become an expert on this class. Is I think the Ravens need to draft somebody. They've expressed interest in drafting somebody. And, we don't know what Boyle's going to be going forward, to be honest. I think a lot of people are looking for that Hayden Hurst replacement still. I am, for this offense. I think it makes defenses really, have to account for a personnel package they're not used to seeing. I know there's a lot of interest in the Ravens community, including myself, to see more 11 personnel. And obviously with Mark Andrews, he kind of would be that 11. But I could see a world where if you draft a really good guy, like a Hayden Hurst replacement here, that you have Mark Andrews as like your slot receiver. You have another tight end that can bring another aspect to the game. So I think there's a lot that the Ravens could gain out of getting a true weapon here. The Josh Oliver experience was not the one, unfortunately. I know I was a big booster for him coming in, but it looks like it's time to move on and find the next talent.
It could be. So a lot of tight ends to choose from, especially in that middle round range. Trey McBride is a guy I see at the top of the tight end list a lot, projected to go in the second round. So a lot of these guys we're talking about today, Alec, I would imagine targets in the third round, fourth round. Is that the way you're seeing it?
Yeah, I think there's enough of them that I like that the fourth round is really where it's going to get interesting. We got 5 of those picks as we speak today. I think one of them is going to be tight end. I don't think it's going to be the third rounder. I think there's just too many of them. You wait for that value to hit. So there's 3 guys I really like that I think we should target.
All right, so kick us off, man. Who's the first guy you're thinking about?
Isaiah Likely has really kind of risen up on my board. He has that like H-back potential. John Mackey semifinalist, small school guy. That's maybe one of his big knocks, but he has those runaway touchdowns. He's good pass catching option. I know it was against a little bit lower competition, but you look at the traits and I think they will translate to the NFL. So I like him a lot. I'm curious if it sounds like he's not sleeping anymore. I think people are starting to pay attention to him. I've seen him as high as like tight end 3 or 4. I mean, that's pretty rich, for a guy that's a smaller school guy, but I could see him delivering, to be honest.
Me too. I think that there's a niche for him in this league. He's a seam stretcher. The first thing that sticks out when I just, visibly watch him is he's built like a running back. So he's a little squatty. He's not built like a receiver, say. He's not necessarily built like a lineman like you see some tight ends. He's a running back. I think he's 6'2", if I have my numbers right on that.
I had him at 6'4", but
6'4", okay.
Yeah,
he
he's
looks,
a bigger guy.
dude, he's muscular as heck, man. He looks like a little bowling ball when he's out there on the field, and he is able to keep a nice low center of gravity. My only questions with him is, I'm not sold on his catch radius because of that. He plays muscular, like Tyrannosaurus Rex. Not about arm length, Alec. I'm talking about like flexibility into your upper body. And he is a willing blocker, better blocker in space, but I can't see him hanging with NFL defensive ends. So for me, Isaiah Likely would be a glorified receiver type tight end. Could certainly be somebody that we target, though, to give us some extra juice in the passing game if something were to happen to Andrews.
Right. This is one of the prospects I don't really line up as he won't fulfill the Boyle role at all. I don't want to target another Boyle for what it's worth. So that's fine. But there's other, prospects where you can project them a little bit better in the blocking game, I can admit.
Yeah, so expand on that, though, more. You think that we need more of a receiving tight end? Because I might deviate from that a little bit, man. Like, I feel like if Andrews were to go down, we can fill that receiving threat with receivers. Whereas, we have Boyle and Ricard who can handle the tight end role. So I was looking for more of a do-it-all tight end in my personal preference. But again, man, that's in the eye of the beholder. What are your thoughts on that, Alec?
That's a really good point. I completely see what you're saying. I guess where I challenge you on that, but not really, because I think we're kind of in agreement in a way, is I think you bring in a guy that has the athletic traits to be a good pass catcher and kind of have those offensive capabilities, and you grow them into a better blocker. That's kind of the approach I want to take. A lot of these guys are big body guys. Every single one that we're going to talk about, except for one, is just a big guy, right? And I think they can get the right, functional strength, weight, learn how to anchor and be a better blocker.
So it might take them a year or two, but you're good with that. Just get them in the weight room, get them some technique, get some willingness. They need to, hey, kid, you need to do this to get on the field, and you think they'll be fine in the blocking area, a lot of these guys.
I do. And I think, if you really want to talk about a Nick Boyle type, look no further than Jalen Weidemeyer. I mean, he was a slower than expected combine 40. Last time, honestly, we ever saw somebody that slow at the combine that wasn't a bust was Nick Boyle. And he's a very niche kind of thing. So he would have to, be that really good blocker. But actually, that's one of the parts of his game that needs the most work. He's pretty good out of the stem and has had, good catches in traffic. But I think that's kind of the odd guy, in my opinion, is that you look at the body type and kind of the way he performed at the combine, you might think he's a Nick Boyle replacement, but his blocking's not as strong as some of the other candidates.
And neither are his hands, Alec. A lot of drops on tape for Weidemeyer. He was a guy that has dropped tremendously in this draft process. When you look at the list that they were putting out and, I don't know, before the season ended, November, December, Weidemeyer, tight end 2, tight end 3, hey, tight end 1. Is this a guy we're going to draft in the second round, third round? And then the drops kept popping up, man. If you're a receiving tight end, you cannot afford drops. And then, of course, you mentioned the testing numbers. I feel bad for him, man. He went from a guy that was, probably a second, third round pick to now probably off some teams' draft boards. You want to mention a Nick Boyle replacement? I have one for you, and it's the kid from Ohio State, Jeremy Ruckert. I think he's got bigger upside than Nick Boyle, actually, because it's hard to say. I mean, it doesn't get any better from a blocking perspective than Nick Boyle. At least from what I see on tape, studying the opponents, you want Nick Boyle blocking. Ruckert, of course, putting him into that category is going to take time, but he's a great blocker. And then at Ohio State, of course, Alec, they have all these weapons all over the
Yeah.
place that Rucker doesn't get targeted as much as he would at another school. So I think the receiving upside is there from him. Pretty high on Rucker. Have you got a chance to watch him at all?
I have, and yeah, that's a better point. I guess like I had in my notes the Weidemeyer, like just the way he tested kind of reminds of Nick Boyle. But yeah, no, when you talk about Ruckert, he's a guy that can play all 3 downs, and like you said, didn't really get the chance to be a wide receiver when you have 3 first rounders, around him at all times, 2 of which will be in this draft. One thing I saw that he was really good at is he had a knack in the red zone, particularly when he slipped out of blocks to find the empty space. That's a perfect, tight end 2 role for this offense. Go in that heavy package, play action. The guy slips, boom, touchdown, right? So I can see him naturally, pivoting to this offense and being a part of it. I think he might be coveted enough because of his ability to play 3 downs that somebody wants him as a tight end 1. So I don't know if we'll get a chance at him, because I think, when you have the best tight end in the game, that's why I'm thinking you're looking at a later round guy that might slip. But, if Jeremy Ruckert's there, he's a very good option.
So I have Ruckert really close to another tight end. You see on my board there, Alec, I have Ruckert at number 90 overall. Probably a guy I could scoot up a few spots if it wasn't for need. Some of the players in front of him, I think he's very equal. He's comparable to anybody in that blue section that you see there. But a guy that I know you like and is my positional favorite, number 83, Cade Otten. Alec, am I crazy with Cade Otten? Do you love Cade Otten? Are you not sold on him? Give me your take on my positional favorite, friend. And hey, don't pull any punches, man. I know a lot of people try to be nice to me when they come on the show, and I know that you're not going to be nice to me. You're going to tell me how it is, man. So give me your take on Cade Otten, because I see him fitting probably the best out of all these tight ends.
Gotta give you the honest truth, man. Cade Otten is a highlighted player on my board. I like him a lot too. So he has a good football IQ, very strong run blocker. It might be his best trait, honestly. So going back to the whole Nick Boyle thought, if you're looking for a guy who can be Nick Boyle, if Nick can't play in that role anymore due to the injuries, Cade Otten might be the best bet. He has enough speed to be relevant in the pass game. I wouldn't call it his best trait, but he has really strong hands, and he always catches outside his frame, which is something you love to see. At 6'5", that's a big frame. So you can see it like with his arms extending. I mean, he could be a solid player there as well. So yeah, I like Cade Otten a lot.
Okay, so I'm going to give you my notes on Cade Otten straight from my note sheet here that I pulled up. Has wide receiver skills for a big guy, i.e., body control, balance, route running, speed, hands, vision, all tight end worthy. So that's a huge compliment coming from me, because there would usually be something I'm like, well, this isn't NFL quality, or this is going to take some projection. But again, body control, balance, route running, speed, hands, vision, I think are all there. And of course, speed, I'm not talking about 40 time. I'm talking about their play speed.
Yeah, quickness.
Right, exactly. Their play speed, their quickness, and of course your head. What's upstairs has a lot to do with how fast you're moving on the field. I think he needs to add strength, but his inline blocking chops are there. He was asked to do it. So if you want a true personnel changer, if Cade Otten is on the field with Mark Andrews, that's a true 22 personnel or 12 personnel or whatever we do out of that, because both Andrews and Otten, I believe, could be relied on to block inline, could line up at anywhere in the formation, and it would really change. You don't want to get the ball pounded down your throat. You're probably going to have to go a little heavier if both of those guys are in the game. And then all of a sudden you got all these receiving threats everywhere. So I love them. Plus blocker in pass pro and level 2. He's an easy mover. I really don't have any knocks on Cade Otten. And again, man, if it wasn't for other needs on this team, I feel like I could put him and Ruckert a little bit higher. So I'm in love with Cade Otten. Do you have any other thoughts that that came to your mind when you were watching him?
No, I mean, I think you really summed it up well. I think a really good point you have, though, is the football IQ, knowing where to go. There's a lot of, I guess, expectation for tight ends to be able to kind of improvise. And that's something I definitely look out for. Obviously, we have one of the best in the business with Mark Andrews, but they got to find that negative space, the soft spots in the zone, knowing when to release from their blocks to get, in the flat and make an opportunity there. So I think that's a big part of the position. We know that tight ends take a while to mature sometimes, and it's, I think, because of that football IQ. So a guy who has a good start there, um, that's always a good plus, because you don't always know if you can project it to develop.
Exactly, and same thing with the inline blocking. It takes a while to be able to handle some of these more advanced NFL defensive ends. I mean, the moves are coming, the power is
Yeah.
coming, and Otten has a head start on that. I mean, he can still improve, but the fact that he has been asked to do it, even out west in the Pac-12, he's going to be more than fine. I think better blocker than most of the guys in this class. So, Alec, man, we're moving kind of quick with this barbecue, man. We move kind of fast.
I know.
Who else are you looking at here at tight end?
This is a guy that popped up on my board after the combine. I think it was similar for a lot of people. Jelani Woods out of Virginia. Absolute beast at 6'7", 257. Second fastest tight end at the combine. We'll talk about the other guy soon. But he's more fast than he is quick. I kind of noticed in his routes that he kind of lumbers a bit. The other thing that's interesting about him is he benched the most out of tight ends. So you feel like he might have that strength. He didn't bench the most, or you just... Oh.
No, I was just saying he's just an amazing. Go ahead, man. I'm just enjoying your diatribe here.
Yeah. I mean, he is an athlete's athlete. Like, yeah, he tested extremely well. While lumbering, I think he had a decent idea of the route tree. Also catches outside of his frame. He's a really weird guy. He's a converted quarterback prospect. I think one of the biggest things with him is he has this monster frame. We know how that can be a problem with leverage and blocking. I think he has to mostly improve his hand placement. He seems to have good pad level despite his height. So I think that's there. But the hand placement, I think, was the big thing. He's just a raw tight end just because of his lack of play there. But you look at his traits, I think he's been moving up draft boards too. It's hard not to love him, right? It's hard not to be like, I want this guy on our team.
So to paint a picture, Alec, he's 6'7", 250 some, to almost 260. He weighed in at. His arms are over 34 inches. The guy, like, if you were at a picnic and there weren't any trees around, if he's in your group, you can find shade beneath woods because he's just that large of a human being. Like, he stuck out like a sore thumb at Virginia, man. It was like, you find these guys on tape where you got to, where is he? Wait a minute, where is he? Not with Jelani Woods. It was like, okay, there he is. Let's watch him. Yes, he is one of those rare body types that you can just say, all right, well, this guy belongs in the NFL. Anything anybody throws at him is not going to be a problem for him physically. He can handle it. Now, of course, at 6'7", 260, when you're talking about some of those finer movements, let's be honest. I mean, you see it in the NBA too. Once you get 6'8", 6'9", even as high as athletic as those guys are, they're a little bit different than your 6'1" point guards that can just lay it around. So yeah, he's not going to be quick. He's not going to be quick. But what he is he's straight line fast. He's powerful, and he has the hands and the catch radius to where this guy could develop into one of the best tight ends in the league. I believe it's just a major projection coming from, this fast rise that he's had up draft boards. Former quarterback, as you mentioned too.
Right. And I think one of the things that he needs to be better at, I know you mentioned the strength, but I think sometimes getting out of his breaks, he was a little like not able to get out of that mess. We'll have to see an improvement there, I think, at the NFL level to really hit the next gear.
And Alec, man, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that's one of those things where you can't say with any certainty that that's going to improve because of just how tall and big he is. Like, quickness is always going to be not a strength for him. He's just going to have to be quick enough. So go ahead, man.
No, I agree. I think it was almost more technique though, right? Like, can he get thin? Can he like find that, like, how can he maneuver his route, so to speak, to get out of the trash? That was kind of what I was seeing and talking about.
Okay. So like his body control and his, being able to shimmy here and shimmy there, not just
read the leverage. Yeah. Like trying to make all those, again, like kind of talking about the football IQ of a tight end, finding those soft spots. I think that's something that he'll have to work on a bit to kind of get over that hump,
So he would be a guy for me that if we ended up with him on the team, my heart would be full. Like, I'd be happy, psyched as a fan.
Yeah.
Like, forget about all the film study and who else is available and who you had hire and all that stuff. Like, if we had Jelani Woods, I'm going to be, man, this guy's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he's different. You know, you look at all the other guys; they're all like 6'5", 6'4". You know, it doesn't sound like much, but when you see it on the field, 6'7" is different. You know, and the way he tested just it makes him a really interesting prospect. And again, you know, just being the quarterback prospect convert, we've seen a lot of these like athletic freaks who change positions. I mean, even look at the Ross score from our guy Stevens. You know, like converted, finally found his niche in defensive back, and now he's on the ascendancy. He got better every game. He has some of his best games near the end. I think you could have a similar trajectory year one for Jelani Woods.
He is. He's very raw. And then not only did he switch from quarterback to tight end, but he was a transfer from Oklahoma State. So a
Yeah.
little bit of a 1-year wonder type thing going on there at Virginia. So it takes some projection in his game. And that's really the only thing that's holding me down somewhat, like where I can't put him ahead of like your Ruckerts or your Ottens. He is a boomer bust type. I wouldn't say bust, but he's a high ceiling guy for sure, but his floor might not be where you would like as high as the other tight ends. Sorry for stumbling through that, Alec, but yeah, high upside guy, but his floor is not something that you can hang your hat on. Some projection involved with the 1-year production and the position switch, like a Brandon Stevens, as you mentioned, where everything's coming at him kind of fast. But man, I just, like I said, my heart, I would feel good if we drafted him because I would be excited just strictly from a fan standpoint, being like, man, we got this guy. Look at this guy on our team. Let him get off the bus first, Alec.
Do you want to talk about the tight end of UCLA, Greg Dulcich? Because or how do you say
Dulcich.
Oh, Dulcich. I was way off. You can tell I don't listen to the announcers when I watch these guys on film. But yeah, so he was a converted wide receiver. So he has that like smooth and athleticism in his game, 6'4", 243. He has that extra gear to kind of pull away to. I'm curious, like, I know he's usually not ranked the first tight end, but I could see him maybe even going ahead and being the first tight end drafted just because of those traits that we just talked about. But his run blocking isn't there. I know he gives good effort, but I think just because of how his body size is right now, I think he'll have to add that mass and strength to really like produce at the NFL level there.
Yes, absolutely. His run blocking is a pure projection because he wasn't asked to do it there. And I believe that's a Chip Kelly offense. So, I mean, it was basically like, you're not a tight end, you're a receiver.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and he was a receiver before tight end. So, you know, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting part about his game is that there is a lot of projection going on to see how he could be a true tight end at the NFL level.
Dulcich is a fun guy to watch. Now, it's funny because like the first thing that stuck out to me is his legs or his feet. He's like bow-legged, duck-footed, however you want to say it. It's kind of like built like an offensive lineman where they got that natural, like, get your toes out like this. So you're hard to, he runs like that, Alec. Like he runs like that and he's blazing fast, leaving people in the dust. He's got some quicks. Like his yak is rare for a tight end prospect. Like he's a guy that could take a nice slant over the middle, make a safety miss, and then house that thing. Like Dulcich plays fast. He's plenty of experience as a receiver. The blocking, though, Alec, total projection. He could be a liability in blocking, or he could be a decent blocker. I have no feel for it. And like you said, you'd like to see him add a little bit of weight there, fill out his frame.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what I want to say about him. I just thought it would be interesting to talk about him because he was also a, positional change guy.
He is, and I do like him a lot. 6'4", 243, looking at his raw stats there. So, yes, at 240, I mean, that's Derrick Henry type weight right there. So, yes, you would want your tight end to put on a little more weight. But as a receiver, Dulcich is really, really good. So, okay, we went over a few really quickly. Is there anybody else from this tight end group that you either like, don't like, stylistic fits? Let's get into it a little more.
Well, I know there's one guy we wanted to talk about to maybe end the show. I don't know if there's any other guys I really wanted to talk about. I think, looking at it, I think Cole Turner's an interesting prospect. He has that length. Again, he could add to weight to his frame. He shows some receiving ability, particularly a knack for the red zone. So I think he could be an interesting prospect. But yeah, I don't know. Any other ones you want to talk about?
Yeah, Jake Ferguson out of Wisconsin.
Okay.
Very productive guy. He's one of those guys that doesn't look as good in testing or whatever. If you're going for a flag football or if you're picking a team just based off of looks, you would not pick Jake Ferguson. He had a school record for consecutive games with a catch. Extremely productive, ball skills, catches through traffic. All that will translate. He's crafty. He's got decent athletic traits, but on the field, even though you wouldn't pick him out of a lineup and say, "Oh man, this guy's an NFL player." Mm-hmm. But Jake Ferguson is an interesting guy and somebody that I'm having a little bit of trouble placing on my board because he's a guy to me, Alec, that has a high floor. You know how those Wisconsin players come out very, very polished. So with his production, him being a senior, him with all that consecutive game with a catch. He's a guy that he's the nail, not the hammer in the run game. So he'll get in the way. He's not pushing people around. He's not close to a Nick Boyle, but he does enough as a blocker to where, you can have something to build on, and he would be a dependable player, like a say a low end starter that you would see around the league, but a guy that you could depend on at any down and distance. So yeah, Jake Ferguson out of Wisconsin. What if we got a low ceiling but a high floor guy for that third tight end spot, and like fourth, maybe even fifth round, you're looking at Ferguson.
Right. I was going to say the thing with Jake Ferguson that's interesting is, let's say for whatever reason, these tight ends go higher than we expect. They fly off the board while we're not looking. And I think Jake Ferguson, I could see slipping honestly past a lot of the guys we talked about earlier just because of his lack of ceiling. But he does have a good floor. He's used to the run heavy scheme. I had in my notes, he projects really solid as a tight end too. Like he could be a really good tight end too, exactly what you might be looking for there. But doesn't wow you in any particular way where you're trying to make him your flagship tight end. But if you're going into it not looking for that, and the Ravens really aren't, to be frank, he could have a lot of utility.
That's what I'm thinking. He can fill in for you. I think you said it perfectly. Like a good, reliable tight end two guy that's in the game, 20, 25 snaps. And if you have an injury mid-game to a blocking tight end or to a receiving tight end, he can kind of handle a little bit of both, although he's not going to be a dynamic receiver. Dependable player, and there's a place in the league for hardworking, dependable players, and obviously his university loved him a lot. So as I'm building out this board, Alec, I see I have likely a little lower than I imagine he would be on your board. He's there at the top of that pink section, as you see, right after the day 3 value. So, I'm a little lower on likely, and I feel like Ferguson will be coming in, by the time I get to the bottom of that row, somewhere in the next best available tight end, somebody you would look for. Like I said, I see him going in like the 5th round, 6th round. Does that seem about right for Ferguson?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, and it's an interesting spot for the Ravens. As we speak, they don't have a 5th round pick. They do have 1-6, and then they're done. They don't have a 7th round pick. So we'll see what maneuvering they do. I'd be shocked if the 10 picks they have today are the 10 picks they end with. So, we'll see what happens. But there could be a position for him to be drafted. I just think, again, if we're talking 4th round, like we have all those 4th rounders, I see him taking one there so that most likely they weren't going to wait, kind of have him fall on the board.
I hear you. So we have to talk about, you see my get up here, bro. Like you didn't even compliment it, man. It's pretty fly,
beautiful.
right?
I commented during our show.
Okay.
During the Ravens recap show.
You see the Maryland flag. You see the Maryland flag.
Beautiful.
Real subtle in there. Yeah, man.
Right.
So Maryland has a tight end in this draft that's catching a lot of people's attention in Okonkwo. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little bit skeptical. And I went back and forth with Cole a little bit, Cole Jackson, on this. And, I want to talk to Cole about him. Hopefully I could be able to get Cole on the show. But what were your thoughts on the Maryland product? I would love to hear this.
Yeah, so he kind of came on my board after Lamar made a tweet about him. And I I left my initial review of him being like, nope, not interested. He's a smaller tight end. You know, I just felt like even though he was like the fastest tight end at the combine and he has things at the passing game that make him interesting, um, I was worried about his run blocking. You know, like at 6'2", 238, you know, that's not really a NFL tight end right there. I did see he had a good game against Ajabo, and that made me think like, oh, maybe like he's a real tryhard and he'll make it work. But I don't know. Like I saw, Coach Evans's breakdown of him. He likes him, and it kind of made me like maybe I'm missing something here. You know, I really respect his film study too. So I just think at the end of the day, though, if I had to make a stance, I'm not going after him. I like a lot of these other guys a lot more for what the Ravens are looking for. What do you think?
I'm hesitant. I wish you were like all in on him because I would like to hear. I need to get Coach Evans or Cole one here, but what was it? 238, something
Yeah.
kind of small. 238. You can't line this man up in line and ask him to block Miles Garrett. It's just not going to happen, man. They're too long. They're too big. They're too strong. They're too experienced. So what does that leave you with, man? It leaves you with a either fullback or like a H back. Something that we just signed up. We just signed Ricard up for that. So where is the value in like I can't call somebody in the 230s a tight end, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
that's
no, I hear
that's
you.
not a tight end. That's somewhere between a receiver and a fullback.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that catches my eyes is the drops that are on tape and are throughout the scouting reports. I always see iffy hands, and then you get that concentration drop term, which I get frustrated with because a drop is a drop. I don't want to hear any excuses about concentration.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see a great fit for him unless we're going to use him. Like Debo Samuel is a bad comparison, like physical wise, but unless we're going to use him as like a Duvernay Samuels, Debo Samuel type of move here, move there. We'll find ways to get you the ball. We'll throw you a little screen pass. We'll do things like that to manufacture you touches and use that speed. Alec, there are things about his game that are really intoxicating if you noticed.
Yeah, I mean, to that comment, it's like you got Duvernay, just use him. Like, yeah, I mean, you can't take it away from him, right? So you see the physical traits when it comes to you running around the football field. He definitely has ability there. But yeah, like you said though, how do you line him up? Maybe you deploy him as a fullback, right? Maybe you deploy him as an H back. The Ravens don't really have a need for that though. So that's kind of where I fall on him. I just think he could be an interesting player somewhere. I just don't know if it's with the Ravens.
So for people that aren't familiar, he is the anti Jake Ferguson, like we just talked about. This guy is explosive. Typical Maryland athlete, like University of Maryland, my alma mater. They crank out awesome athletes who are also pretty good at football. You know what I mean? Like it's not a well-rounded, technical, successful program, but they crank out high-level athletes. And Okonkwo just absolutely, fits that in a nutshell. So if you want a smaller tight end, a weapon X, a move player, maybe you line them up on the wing, Alec, which is off the line of scrimmage, but right next to your tackle. You can do that. But yeah, I'm having a little bit of problems seeing the fit. And I think people are just enamored with that, the way he's built and the way he moves and the explosiveness out of this guy. Whereas they're just kind of intoxicated with the physical skills and not thinking about how he would fit on this team, considering what else the Ravens have at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Maryland boy, right? So he always gets a little bit more attention. When it comes to draft season, there's always those Maryland prospects that people are always talking about. So that's just, the nature of the beast being local and whatnot. So I don't know. Lamar likes him. I don't know if they're going to practice together or something, invite him over. But I don't even know if they're allowed to do that before they get drafted. So yeah, I don't know.
Lamar can do what he wants. Lamar's not an executive.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. So we'll see. But I don't see it personally. I think we'll get Lamar out of the weapons.
I do think Roman would like him and find a way to use him, by the way. If there's one coordinator, Roman has his fans and detractors, but if you give Roman a big body move, we can block, we can receive, and we can manufacture you touches. That's kind of what Roman does well for players like Okonkwo. Just like he can find a way to get Boyle involved, Ricard involved. You could get a more explosive version of that. It's just, like I said, I think that some of the, he has trouble getting himself open too, Alec. Like, he's not a polished route runner. Catch radius, all that is just like, you would rather have a receiver on the field for a lot of that stuff. But if you can get the ball in his hands, I mean, he can break a big one for you. So there is a lot to like, though. I feel like we're shortcutting him because there's a lot to like, and it's more of a fit thing for both of us, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see what team picks him and how they want to use him, because he's definitely not going to be traditional, most likely.
So, Alec, I really appreciated the tight end discussion. Man, it's just like every other position. There's different flavors. Like, you like Likely. A lot of people love Likely. I'm going to have to go back, my friend, and take a second peek at him. I want to say second, but it's going to be more like the fourth or fifth, just to see why I'm a little lower on him, why I like a guy like Otten, why I like Ruckert a little bit better than Likely. But yeah, man, like a lot of positions, man, tight end is about the flavor. And we're seeing that with the running backs too. Like, what style of running back do you want? What style of tight end do you want? What fits the team? So you're looking for more of somebody that can pick up some slack if Andrews goes down, that can be a receiving threat, I guess, would be more of your preference. Is that fair?
It is. Yeah, it is. So that's kind of guy I'm looking for. I want a tight end that, if we're not going to have one of these wide receivers that I love on our team on the field, that kind of can produce there, be a threat.
Gotcha. So if we're going to go a ton of 12 personnel, 2 tight end looks, you want 2 guys that can catch the ball. And to really, if we're not going to put a receiver on the field in that spot, you want somebody else that can catch the ball as well as block.
Yeah, I think it's important that they can block, because you don't want to be too predictable out of that set. But yeah, I think that's the idea. So give me the guy that has the athletic traits, the knack for pass catching. Maybe they need a little bit more development for blocking, but I think it'll all come together too. I there's a lot of really good prospects. That's the thing I love about, like, for me, like, I think the thing I love about the draft is trying to find values, right? And I know that's kind of like maybe against how a lot of Ravens Twitter has been lately about, like, oh, gotta get these studs, trade up, like, get rid of picks. And I'm like, nah, I kind of want to find, like, these third, fourth, fifth rounders that, like, kind of diamonds in the rough that are going to fall. I know that, maybe they're not going to translate right away, but that's I find more joy trying to find diamonds in the rough than being like, oh yeah, that guy that everyone thinks is good, I also think he's good.
Yes, there's a balance there. And I mean, the way to do it wrong would be, look at the Mike Mayock Raiders and, hey man, Cleveland Farrell. There's all these talented players there, but we want Cleveland Farrell because he's a team leader. Let's pick him at number 4 overall. No, bro, that's not the value. Like, if you wanted to target Cleveland Farrell, you trade back and you get Cleveland Farrell around where he should be picked. Same with Damon Arnett. A lot of people liked Alex Leatherwood. I was not a fan of his. I wasn't sure if he could stick a tackle. Sure enough, he's already at guard before he starts his second season. So if you see a player that you like, for better or worse, like, I have no problem with us being aggressive, giving up pick, going up in the draft and getting us a Derek Stingley or Jermaine Johnson. That would excite the heck out of me. I love it, especially since the Browns picked before us. Like, go ahead and steal somebody from the Browns. That would be great.
Not anymore. They gave it away. Remember? To Houston.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So yeah.
But Houston needs everything. They're almost worse, because, like, they're not looking for a quarterback, right? And they're gonna just pick the best player available. I feel like because there's no, like, stars on their team right now.
That's right. I forgot about the Cleveland thing. I'm glad you reminded me.
It's all good, man. Yeah, I think about it too sometimes. But yeah, the Houston thing there, it's just like, yeah, they're gonna go BPA, and, like, I think that's why ever since that trade happened, I've gotten much more concerned about the top, players. One of them falling to us. Like, I feel like
really,
yeah, it kind of made me feel like it changed the equation a little bit.
Okay,
For whatever reason.
You felt like probably on the inside, Cleveland was going to take a receiver that wasn't on our board, and
Exactly.
we'd probably
Yeah.
get a freebie out of that.
Yeah, because that's what you're looking for, dude. I don't know about you. So, like, yeah, you talk about your 10 guys, they're kind of my 10 guys too, where that seems like a cut, right? And it's like, okay, well, 10's, not 14. So, how might we get one at 14? And I'm starting to think maybe you don't. Like, I think maybe if you really are committed to it, you go up and you get it. And if not, you go back. Like, I just feel like 14 is starting to feel like no man's land, and it's making me a little sad because I felt for a while that someone was going to fall, and then just as the trades have happened and as more rumblings about what people are thinking about, like, ah, crap, they're all on the right page or the wrong page for the Ravens.
Okay, see, now I've kind of gone the other way. I've had both of those thoughts, but I figured out my top 10. Man, that's going to sound cocky, bro, but you've seen my top 10 has been my top 10 forever, bro. Like, I've been calling this 10 players that I want for a long time. Now it seems like all the draft consensus is coming to it, but I have a feeling now I'm feeling a little better. I'm going to give you two names: Malik Willis,
Mhm.
Jordan Davis.
Mhm.
If I had to put money, somebody said pick either they're going top 10 or they're not going top 10. I lean towards top 10 for both of them. Yes, even Jordan Davis. I'm pretty sure somebody's going to see him as this generational talent, too good to pass up. Same thing with Malik Willis. Has the upside to be a top end quarterback. And then you throw in maybe somebody likes Kenny Pickett, or maybe somebody likes a Booth better than they like Stingley. So yeah, it's a hairy call for me whether we're going to get one of those top 10 players on my board at 14, or if, like you said, they're all gone. Maybe the best move is to scoot back a couple of spots and really stock the defense and stock the offense with this like unstoppable draft class of like right in the sweet spot of it, man. Like we could trade back up and get another guy later and all that other stuff. The doors would just like blow open if we gave up our 14th spot. But I'm still holding out hope that one of those studs at the top will either be available at 14 or we see one of them at about 11, give up a third round pick and go get them.
Yeah, you're praying that Carolina goes and gets the quarterback. Feels early, but like out of desperation they might do it. And then I really want to see one of these wide receivers go. I think they're good wide receivers. I think they deserve to go high. I just think a lot of teams are seeing that every year there's a lot of good wide receivers that can go high, and like you can wait a little bit, and the league's changing that way. I think people are starting to get hip to the idea of economizing wide receiver. So
Me
more
too.
of a
I look at Atlanta up there. Atlanta is in desperate need of wide receivers. But again, the argument is if you're picking in the top 10, then you're probably picking early in the second round too. So then in the second
just go
round,
get
you're
one
looking
there.
at Jahan Dotsons and your Pickens and all that other stuff. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, maybe we see a receiver sneak into there. Maybe Jordan Davis sneaks in there. Maybe a quarterback sneaks in there. And that, to me, Alec, that would be all we needed. Sounds like a lot of ifs, but of course it is a lot of ifs. Who knows how it'll go?
Well, we'll be watching together, man. I know I'm excited for those conversations. The suspense of Thursday night, but really good talking about these tight ends. I'll be the kind of the star of maybe the third night.
Very good, very good. Yep. Maybe we'll get together for the third night, man. Maybe we'll do a stream on Huddle It Up Films or something,
Can't,
bro.
unfortunately. I'm at a wedding.
See, you got all this active life and stuff to do, bro.
I know. I feel bad because like but the good news is that it's like the least interesting one to watch live on TV, at least, right? Because they talk about all the guys that got picked the other 2 days. They don't really talk about the guys getting picked.
Yeah, I don't need the sound on at that point because they're not even talking about the guys that get drafted. But I
Yeah.
still get really frenetic, and there's going to be a guy in my top 50 that's sitting there that I'm just praying. So yeah, it's still kind of high stress for me
Oh,
over
I get
here.
what you're saying. Yeah, no, totally. Like I still want to watch it, but I guess part of me is like, I'm okay being on Twitter for that more so than like
Okay,
actively watching,
gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
But not at the
So
wedding. I think it'll be all done by the wedding, right? It's like later in the day. So
all right, you can have your phone out, being like, "Yay, yay!" Let me go
happy
get back to my
couple. Oh,
phone.
the Ravens picked. I'm happy about that.
Oh, hey, how you doing? So
Awesome.
yeah, good husband, Alec Pulianas. He's going to a wedding during the NFL draft. I mean, dude, what a keeper over there, Alec. You're a true keeper, sir.
I appreciate it. I like to hope that I'm doing a good job.
Well, hey, man, you know how much I love you. I'm so glad I got you on for one of these. I want to say thank you to my football family. Please do yourself a favor. Check out Alec at the Ravens Recap, fellas. Hey, maybe even want to listen to me again. Who knows? But they do a really good professional job with Peter and Chris and Alec over there, covering everything you need for the Ravens. Just a good show. Great editing. Great editing. I'm always jealous of your editing. So really well done, well-rounded show over there. Please check them out. So with that, I'll say goodbye and thank you to my football family. Alec, you know what time it is, man. Say goodbye to the people. Lou
Peace,
out.
y'all.
See you while your way out.
Later.